Augusta here from The New Face of Finance. Welcome to my 37-week pregnancy video, which I'm actually recording on Christmas Day of 2020. So, Merry Christmas! Between balancing serious exhaustion and sleep with baby preparations, running the businesses, and doctor's appointments, it feels like ages since my last pregnancy update, but the weeks have just flown by. The doctors have actually decided to induce me a week early, something that I was expecting anyway. So by this time next week, there is a high chance that I will be a mother. So I'm going to take some time to talk through the things that have happened over the last few weeks. I've previously talked about pain during pregnancy, and the last time I had pain was around 30 weeks, where I experienced some excruciating, what we believe to be ligament pain. And this was just a massive burning sensation around my waistline, and it lasted a pretty solid 36 hours. I couldn't really focus on anything else, and in fact it was so excruciating I couldn't even keep food down for that period. Then it just stopped, and I've been okay since then. So probably, touch wood, the next time I will experience any kind of pregnancy pain will be during labour. Over the last few weeks, I've had to focus on maintaining a low sugar diet, which hasn't been easy because early on in my pregnancy I had this horrible taste in my mouth, so I had a lot of sweets, a lot of chocolates around me. Obviously, since being diagnosed with gestational diabetes, I've had to really focus on cutting out the sugar and a high carbohydrates intake. So my diet has largely consisted of red meats, things like sweet potatoes and brown rice. I've had to look for alternatives to sugar supplements, which I was doing before anyway. I always prefer sweeteners to sugar if I have a cup of tea or something. Interestingly, I've had the odd kebab or chicken takeout, and my sugar levels never seem to be as high after these meals, which suggests that you could probably have a high cholesterol diet with not that much sugar in it. I've managed to maintain exercise through most of my pregnancy. Some weeks have been better than others, but for the last few weeks, I've managed to average about 20 minutes of low impact, relatively high intensity exercise about 3 times a week. They advise that you should be able to have a conversation while you're working out. I don't have a conversation, but I don't break out in ridiculous sweat. I just breathe a bit more. So I think I've been okay, and I felt good about it. The days that I exercise, I feel pretty good, and I know that it's going to help me during the labour stages. Pregnancy massage. So hubby and I travelled to East London. He had a deep tissue back massage. I had a pregnancy massage over at Pendulum Massage, and a lovely lady called Pauline. Lovely experience. Lovely experience, despite the discomfort of having to lie on my sides. I can't lie on my sides anymore. It hurts way too much to get up. So now the way that I've been sleeping for the last couple of months is what I would call hospital bed sleeping. I'm not lying in a hospital bed, but I have my pillows parched up and I'm almost quasi sitting up as I fall asleep. And in fact, I've been having a much better night's sleep that way, and getting up a lot easier without so much pain. Growth scans. So I went from a period of having like no scans for weeks on end to having like 3 growth scans in the last month. The last one I had was yesterday. They just wanted to make sure that baby's size was still good and that there wasn't too much fluid around the baby. And the midwife reported yesterday that she was totally happy with the numbers, and, you know, they felt baby was in a good place. My baby's pretty active, to be honest, kicks me quite a lot, quite hard. And although I love to know that it's comfortable and it's there and it's doing its thing, it does really exhaust me when it goes on one of those massive kicking, punching sprees. In any case, as the midwives always say, if for any reason you get worried or you notice that there isn't much movement, really important that we head over to the hospital. They actually have a section called triage, which is like A&E for expectant mothers. It's open 24 hours, so you can turn up there at any point with any issues that you may have, so that they can check the baby and talk through your concerns. So given baby size and vitals seem okay, the reason they're inducing is really because of me and my health woes. Although I feel pretty good, but you know, normal healthy people just have random like heart attacks and sicknesses and whatever. So if they're saying that there's stuff to be worried about, I'm gonna trust their judgment, especially because I do feel like over the last 9 months these doctors have paid a lot of attention to me. You know, if anything, they've been overcautious, and I'd prefer that than, you know, a doctor not giving me the full picture and allowing me to adjust accordingly to accommodate any potential issues that may arise. I do feel quite prepared, about as prepared as I can be for what is about to happen, as well as the concerns around my gestational diabetes, and babies who have mothers with any form of diabetes tend to be slightly bigger. So our baby's on the bigger average spectrum, if that makes sense, but still a healthy size. It's not suffering from macrosemia, I think it's called, when the baby's way too big, nothing like that. It's a good size. However, obviously, we don't want it to get too big. Another concern is that they ran some blood tests and they found that despite the fact that I take iron tablets twice a day, my iron levels are still not increasing or not as high as they would want. And I'm a little bit anemic and my kidney's not functioning as well as they'd like. So as a result, they gave me an 800 milligram iron infusion a couple of weeks ago. Went in for the blood test yesterday, so with a bit of luck, everything will be okay by the time that we go for the induction next week. It's important that my iron levels are relatively high, because when you're anemic, if for any reason you bleed during the birth, the blood is just a bit more of a concern than someone who's not anemic and bleeds the same. So I want to be there for my baby and my husband. So, you know, whatever it's going to take, I'd rather take the precaution than just be flippant and end up in a really risky situation for no real reason. Perrenual exercises and colostrum harvesting. Anything could happen. I do have a birth plan, but also I'm really kind of open and conscious of the fact that you don't really know what's going to happen when you go in to have a baby. So essentially they're going to induce me, which is providing some kind of medication so that it triggers contractions and therefore leads to birth. I'll probably talk a little bit more about this depending on how it goes. They've already talked me through the process of what's going to happen, but I think I'd rather, sort of explaining what could happen, make a video after the baby's born to talk about what did happen, because there's a lot of information about there what could happen. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of positive birthing videos. I want to stay positive and optimistic going into this experience, but as I say, I also accept that it could be a vaginal delivery, but something could trigger us having to do an emergency C-section, and I'm okay with whatever is to happen as long as my baby is delivered safely, and I'm gonna be okay afterwards. So anyway, to prepare for the potential vaginal delivery, I have been massaging my perineum. I think it's called my perineum, but the perineal area. That is the area between the vagina and the anus, and that is the area that tends to split. Sorry to be so graphic. I should have warned before I was saying this, but it's what it is at the end of the day. You know, let's just keep it real. And so I've been massaging that area to just try and soften it. I'm super scared about tearing. I shouldn't be. I'm coming more to terms with it. You know, the midwife has suggested that that area is designed for that. I've spoken to friends. It's like, yeah, that's what happened. They're living their best life still. So I'll probably kind of get over it. But to avoid it, I am preparing that area. And as well as that, I've been using my Annabelle, as I spoke to you about on the last video, maybe the video before that. I'm using Annabelle to kind of stretch the muscles in that area. Now, because of my bump, it's really hard to get under there. So I've been enlisting my husband's help. He's probably about the only person who can do it. You know, maybe if I paid someone, I got my mum there, but she's never here. So he's been amazing. He's been so massively supportive in helping me use that ball to kind of, you know, to kind of exercise those muscles in preparation. Now that I'm 37 weeks, the midwives have suggested that I partake in an activity known as colostrum harvesting, which is essentially massaging your boobs to get out little bits of milk. You're not going to get masses out, but what it does is, you know, they give you these little tubes and you can kind of fill those ready for when baby arrives. And it's better to just give them that, you know, nutrient soaked bit of stuff that comes out of you at this point. If for any reason maybe baby comes out, is hungry but won't latch or anything, that colostrum is better than, you know, going for a bottle feed, so they say. So it's a bit daunting and a bit confusing, but I'm going to give it a go after Christmas. They also suggest that colostrum harvesting helps to induce birth, so I think that, you know, it's a good time to try now. I've already talked so much about birth, babies, pregnancy. I want to take a couple of minutes to just talk about life and business. Fortunately, we have received planning permission for converting my mum's house from a family home into 4 flats in London. Really excited. It only took 8-9 weeks. We were concerned about delays because of COVID, but obviously it was a scheme that was pretty much in line with similar schemes that had been approved in the area, and my architect's pretty good with chasing the planning consultants and finding out what's going on, and yeah, they've been okay with that. So they've approved the plan, although there are a number of conditions that we need to discharge, so I've been working on those over the last few weeks. And yeah, looking forward to starting this new build in 2021, right after the baby's born. In mid-December, Nick and I took a 2-day trip to London to meet a bunch of builders in preparation for the build. Good experience, needed to be done. It took a lot out of me though, taking that trip to London, and I did actually plan to kind of go to London, you know, in this Christmas week that's coming, but obviously with the induction and then taking that final trip just made me realise that I just can't do those kinds of trips anymore now. I have to stay local. It's all pretty exhausting, and obviously I'm just getting a bit too big, a bit too heavy to be doing those kinds of activities. So during that trip, I pretty much decided it's the last time I'm coming to London before the baby's born, which is all very well because London and Kent are now in tier 4 anyway. And so it's nice that actually, you know, we've been forced into a small Christmas. And so it's just me and Nick today. It's our first Christmas as a married couple, but also our last Christmas as a twosome, so it's quite a special period. I'm grateful to have him, grateful for the year I've had, if I'm honest. I know it's been a difficult year for so many people, and people have been in my thoughts and my prayers, and I've reached out and helped out where I can or where it's felt right. I have to say I feel super blessed with the 2020 that God has given me. So I just want to take the time to say that I really appreciate your support and watching these videos. It's always weird, YouTube videos, sitting there talking about yourself and your life. It's a little bit narcissistic, but I'm hoping that the time that I spend making these videos adds some kind of value to your lives and the people that are watching this. I am wishing you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a very prosperous happy and healthy 2021. Thank you very much. See you on the next video.